Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Finest Hour. I'm your host, Norman Driggers. This episode will be a little bit different than what you guys are used to. Instead of me talking for about 20 minutes or asking questions the entire time, what you're getting ready to hear is a series of reflections. Reflections from a retired Master Sergeant named Brad Zois, who served 21 years in the United States Air Force. We took this interview and broke it down into 6 hard-won lessons. Lessons you shouldn't have to learn the hard way. Whether you've served or not, I promise you'll see yourself somewhere in this episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. We start with something that feels a little obvious until it becomes you. Brad opens with this lesson, one that I think most of us can understand logically but ignore emotionally. Starting with lesson number 1, don't wait to get help.
Don't bury things in. Like, don't wait to talk about your feelings. Don't wait to get help. Get help. I'm kind of broken now. I've had 3 back surgeries, 3 TBIs, 100% VA disabled, which is nice, but like I'd trade all that money to not have these problems. So, don't wait to do that.
There's no award for toughness that turns into trauma. I want to reinforce what he's explaining as far as taking care of yourself emotionally and physically. What you wait on comes back to haunt you. What you fight for will pay off. Lesson number 2, rebuilding doesn't have to look like reconciliation. We often talk about healing like it needs to be this big moment full of apology, forgiveness, and dramatic repair. But sometimes healing just means adjusting your expectations and still showing up. Let's see what Brad has to say about this. Yeah, so you were saying you grew up outside of the city. Are your parents like still together, or like
Yep, they're
like
still
over the years?
together,
Okay,
still
yeah.
living in the same house. They've been living in that house since 1986. I keep trying to tell them to move out. It's a big house. They don't. I got a twin sister. She's got 3 kids, but they live in Connecticut. So, and I haven't lived in Boston since 2002, and I don't plan on going back. It's too expensive, too cold.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But yeah, my parents are still together. They fought a lot when I was growing up, sometimes pretty violently. Never spilled over to violence towards me or my sister, which I'm thankful for, but a lot of scars from that. So my mom is a very hypersensitive, controlling person and could never tell her she was wrong, that kind of stuff. So I clashed with my mom for a long time. I'm trying to rebuild relationship now because
Mm-hmm.
she's in her late 70s. I'm going to be 45 this year. It's life is too short, man. So
Yeah, I agree.
I talk to her once a week, usually for about 30 minutes, and that's my limit.
You don't need to fix the past to move forward. You just need to decide what you're still willing to hold on to and what you're ready to release. Heading into lesson number 3, which is you are not your transition. This next section is especially important, not just for military members, but for anyone experiencing a layoff, a breakup, a move, or a major identity shift. When everything feels unstable, we often tend to ask ourselves whether or not we are doing enough or whether or not we are enough. I started my terminal 30 days ago. I have applied for 48 jobs. I've gotten 20 interviews in the last 30 days. So
Okay.
I've just been cooking.
Yeah.
I've gotten 0 offers. Somehow I've gotten 0 offers. And I think it's just because like the job market's fucked up. But also I'm I'm joining the guard, right? I got picked up to fly as a weapons systems officer in the Oklahoma Guard.
Oh
And
wow.
so
Did you
when
already get your
people
commission or?
no, I haven't gone through OTS or anything like that. I'm waiting for class dates, but because
Congrats,
I'm
man.
staying local, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Um, like the jobs that heard I was in the guard, they were like, "Oh man!" Like they're all like intel jobs. They're like, "Oh, you're a weapons school guy. Like that's fucking awesome." Blah blah. And they're like, "Ooh, you're in the guard. We found someone else." Like
Yeah.
they picked somebody else. Um, and so it's been wild. Like the job search has absolutely been wild. My terminal ends next week, and I was like, what? I'm not like in a bad spot financially. Where like I don't know, I need to work at like McDonald's or something like that, like to pay my bills or whatever. But I was sitting there thinking, I was like, I feel like I'm in a tough spot right now, like a weird spot.
I can relate, man. When I retired, same thing. the skill bridge I did didn't work out. I struggle too, man. And this is a bizarre area. There's lots of senior level jobs and there's lots of entry level jobs. There's not a lot of in between. And if you're not a senior level, they don't want you. And you're probably overqualified to be entry level. So they're gonna balk at that because they don't want to pay you.
Yes. Yep. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And I ended up not working. I didn't get a job until like 6 months after I retired.
Really?
So and it wasn't from me looking. It was, I got a phone call like, hey, I found your resume. You'd be a good fit for this job. It was a CENTCOM analyst at A2 and AVSOC. And I'm like, and it sucks, dude, because every job that I've applied for, nothing. Every job I've had since I've retired, it's been someone.
And one of my buddies was like, "Oh, dude, I had the DoorDash like for a hot minute
Yeah.
before anything came through." So it's like that does make me feel good as far as like my personal value or like my perception of my personal value. Because until you said the senior level, entry level stuff, I legit had a guy who was like, "You are overqualified, and I don't want to pay you for what you probably think you're worth, and I also think you're worth." He was like, "So we're gonna go with someone else," and I was like, "I will be underqualified." I was like, "I need a fucking job, dude."
Yeah,
Like,
dude. I applied for at Terminex because I'm like, cool, man. I'll get my own truck. I can go like spray fucking bugs, be on my own.
yeah,
And the guy was like, "You have a master's degree?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I would really love to hire you, but I'm afraid with this master's degree, you're just doing this temporarily." And I'm not. Like, I'm not. I'll rip it up in front of you. Like, and they didn't even call me back, man. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, dude, I will sit in the truck in the middle of summer in Florida and spray people's bugs. I don't care. Like, I want, like, give me a fucking chance.
I'm so glad that we're talking about this because there has to be hundreds of other veterans who have gotten out retired or whatever that are like, am I fucking up? If you've ever felt worthless in a season of change, let me remind you, you are not your transition. Clarity often follows confusion. Just don't confuse the fog with failure. Transitioning to lesson number 4. Your purpose will evolve. A lot of times it's very easy for us to think that commitment has to come from some deep, perfect sense of calling. But often the reason why we stay isn't that complicated. When the voice in our head tells us we should pursue a thing, allow that voice to take over and just see what happens. Brad here discusses the reason why he enlisted and the reasons why he continued to serve, both vastly different circumstances. Check it out. So you already knew you were going to join the military, and then 9/11 happened. Did that change your opinion at all?
Nope, made me want to go in more.
Yeah.
I remember, um, everybody has their memory of that specific day. I was working 2 jobs at the time. I'd moved back in with my parents to save money before I joined the military. And um, I was working from basically 4 a.m. till 2 p.m. every day as a grill chef at a restaurant in South Boston. I would get off, run home, take like a 2 hour nap, and then I would drive over to this newspaper called the Metro West Daily News, and I was a sports reporter for them, just covering like local college and
No way.
high school stuff. Yeah, that was a good time. I was doing a lot, and I was off the next day, which was 9/11. I was settling into like some really good sleep, and my mom came home just screaming, "Brad, get up, turn on the TV." I remember turning on the TV, and it was right as the first tower was crashing down, and I like, what's going on? Like, is every city under attack? Like, what's happening? Is this like, nobody knew. And
Yeah.
um, I am an emotional person, just by nature, and I'll never forget that day after the second tower fell. I just went into the other room and just cried, man, like heaving cries. And I was then at that, it's like that cycle of emotions. Just got really angry after that. Like, I was so mad, dude. Like, everybody was so mad. And then it turned into like, let's unite. Like, we just got attacked. This has never happened
Yeah.
before. And that was like, I'm so glad I'm joining the military now. Now I can go do something about this. And yeah, so it motivated me even more.
Using that as part of your inspiration for why you joined, right? Um, one of my friends just recently retired, and one of the questions he was asked, which I thought was, I had never heard this before, but everyone's got their own story of why they joined, right? You just shared yours. What are some things as we transition through the 21 years that kept you serving?
Uh, that's a good question. I was going to get out at my 8 year mark. I was getting my degree in criminal justice. I wanted to be a police officer. I was living in Arizona. I was going to apply for either Arizona State Police or Phoenix Police Department. And uh, my wife got pregnant. My first wife got pregnant, and I'm like, I can't get out now. I can't like go into this uncertainty. So I re-enlisted, and I'm like, I'm in it now. Um, and just like I think the opportunity to get out of a career field I wasn't enjoying for the second time, that's kind of another motivation. Um, getting my clearance was like a big deal too. Like now I'm really gonna make a difference. I felt that way, and just carried me through. My first duty assignment after I retrained was to Scott Air Force Base, to the J2 at US Transcom. I just worked my way through the different. It was divided by branch like UCOM, CENTCOM, AFRICOM, obviously, and CENTCOM was obviously the you wanted to work that mission because we had two major wars going on at the time, still Iraq and Afghanistan, and uh, after that I went to Korea for a year. That was that's like a bittersweet tour for me. I loved being over there. I love Korea. I made some of the closest friends I've ever had in my life during that year of working shift work. But I also went through a pretty rough time because my wife at the time decided after me being there for 5 months that she didn't want to be married anymore. And we had been together for, almost 13 years. So that was difficult. Uh, it's like one of those things where you wish you knew now or knew then what you know now.
In your purpose, the reason why you started may not be the reason why you stayed. And sure, as your experiences and your pursuit evolve, so will your purpose. You just need to have a why, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You just need to know what it is. So when you're faced with adversity, you have a compass that can guide you through it. Lesson number 5, Mamba number 5. You don't have to be liked to lead effectively. In this next part, we're going to listen to Brad talk about growth, not only in his rank, but also in his identity. It is very important for people to understand that they may be faced with a shift from wanting to be liked to just being yourself. Brad's acceptance that not everybody is going to like his kind of style or personality doesn't prevent him from finding a way to do the right thing. So let's talk identity first, right? As you and I both wear our, Jaguars hats, Boston Celtic hat or whatever. I was told recently about how identity is so much more important in the military because as civilians we get to wear what we're wearing right now, and so you can easily go up to a bar, or excuse me, you can easily go up to a guy at the bar, see that he's wearing a basketball hat, you're like, oh man, like you watch ball, and then you guys can immediately start talking about stuff. In the military, right, we all look the same, and so there was something to be said about how identity is so important while you're in the military because yes, you have to conform, yes, you have to follow like legal orders and do the whole thing, but as you know and I know, if that is your personality, you are the lamest motherfucker like in
Yeah,
the building,
yeah,
like people are just like, oh my god, here comes Mr. Air Force, like um so it's one of those things. But as far as that goes, like you've always been a really cool dude, and so I'm curious to hear you talk about like what your identity was a few years after you joined, and then how it's changed over the course of your 21 years compared to what the Air Force says its identity has been.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of a troublemaker when I first came in, like not doing anything illegal or bad, but I was kind of like a prankster and wasn't. I was always very aware of customs and courtesies, and that's something I carried through my whole career. Like I had officers tell me they could call me by their, I could call them by their first names, and I never did. It's just that was my thing. Like, you have that rank, you earned it. I'm not going to call you by your first name. You're a captain, you're a colonel, whatever. That's kind of a struggle for me at the 25th at times. Which is from this perspective, it's like a maturity thing. Like when I first came in, I was a prankster. Like someone would put a sign up for like a potluck, and I would write like I was going to bring Hungarian goulash. Like after like the third or fourth time I did that, I got called into like the senior enlisted. He's like, "All right, Brad, it was funny the first time. People are serious about this potluck. Like, just don't. If you're not going to bring anything, don't write anything." Like, okay, yes, sir. And then like the colonel who's in charge of the lab, like every Friday he would in the morning he would meet with like the whole lab. It was a huge lab, like 50 people, and he would just meet in the middle of the lab and like go through his spiel of the week, and like then he'd say, "Anybody else have anything to say?" And he would kind of just scan the room, and when he'd get to me, I'd be like, "Go Sox." Like so, and people would like laugh, but I could tell he wasn't amused. So after doing that a few times, I would switch it up, like go Pats, like whatever season it was, go Bruins, whatever. And so he would, after a while, I got talked to about that too. So I kind of learned how to balance, like know my audience, I guess. I didn't really know my audience when I first came in. So my identity was always like, I am gonna be a hard worker. I'm gonna wear this uniform with pride, but I also want to have fun. And as I developed into a leader later on in my career, I was definitely a very hands-off leader, which is the kind of leader I value. Like if you're doing your job, if you're showing up to work on time, things are getting done, we're good. We are good. Like you're not going to hear from me. I'm not going to be breathing down your neck. I'm not going to micromanage you. But when we stop doing those kind of things, that's when you're going to get to know me a little bit more. That's when I'm going to be in your chili, so to speak. Like it's so that maturity from this airman that wanted to have more fun. I always had a good work ethic, but I also wanted to like have fun at work. Like I would listen to music loud, and I'm sure like my type of personality, people either really like me or they don't like me. There's not a lot of in between. There's the in between is they tolerate it, but there's people that flat out just don't like me, and then there's people that love me. And I kind of learned. I was when I first joined. I was a very sensitive person, and like I took things very personally, and my identity changed over time. Like I'm not going to take it personally. Like unless you're like making it personal, then we might have an issue. But I'm not gonna. If you don't like me, you don't like me. I'm not
Yeah.
doing anything that's highly offensive to you. I'm not doing anything to like make you uncomfortable. I'm just being me. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Lesson number 6 is another one that resonates with me very well. Success isn't always a promotion. We've all been taught to climb the ladder, to get promoted, get more stripes, move up. In Brad's story, he challenges that idea and offers something quieter and much deeper. It's a story about choosing service over status and people over progress. In a world obsessed with getting to the next level, Brad chooses his people over promotion. And regardless if you align with this mindset, you have to understand your identity more than anything else in these positions. He knew who he was. He knew what kind of leader he wanted to be, that in which was so true to himself, and that is success on his terms.
I'm loyal to a fault in some ways. Like I'll lay down so you can cross over the fire. You can step on my back. Um, and people first. Like as a leader, there's a book called Leaders Eat Last, and it's a little that's how I was, man. Like I'm not gonna, as a leader, I'm not gonna be the first one in line when something comes up. Like my people get to go first, and you can learn a lot about someone when you're in a situation like that. How do they react? And if they don't react putting you first, then I don't have time for that, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna follow you. You can be on your own. If you want to go first, if you want to climb that ladder, do it by yourself. I don't have your back anymore. So I guess that was a big perspective thing for me too, is accepting that E7 was it for me. Um, and I was okay with that. Like I do regret I probably should have explored a commission earlier on, but you can't go back in time. And
Yeah.
um, But here we are.
Today we discussed 6 lessons, one man's story, but more than that, in a very non-standard way. This episode's intent is to be a mirror. Not every lesson needs to be learned the hard way. Let this be your kickstart. So if you're like me and you're in the middle of a transition, or if you've ever questioned your purpose, your identity, or your worth, I hope Brad's honesty gave you something to work with. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you next time.